Most people are taught a comforting story about how the world works. Be honest, work hard, stay patient, and eventually life will reward you. This belief feels moral, reassuring, and civilized, but it does not describe reality. 500 years ago, Machiavelli dismantled this illusion with cold precision. He was not interested in how society ought to function. He studied how power actually moves. His conclusion was disturbing but consistent. Most people remain weak not because they lack ability, but because they organize their lives around comfort instead of power. Machiavelli wrote during a brutal era of wars, betrayals, and collapsing states. Florence, his home, was repeatedly conquered, liberated, and reconquered. Governments fell not because their leaders were unintelligent, but because they misunderstood human nature. From this chaos, Machiavelli drew a clear lesson. People are not governed by virtue. They are governed by incentives, fear, ambition, and perception. Any system built on idealism rather than psychology will fail. The same applies to individual lives. Those who believe the world rewards goodness automatically will remain subordinate to those who understand how influence really works. At the center of Machiavelli's thinking is a quiet but powerful distinction: comfort versus power. Comfort seeks safety, predictability, and emotional ease. Power requires exposure to uncertainty, tension, and risk. Most people instinctively choose comfort. They prefer routines they can control, relationships that never challenge them, and careers that feel secure even if they lead nowhere. Machiavelli observed the same pattern in states. Cities that grew accustomed to peace lost their fighting spirit. They became dependent on mercenaries rather than their own citizens. When crisis arrived, these comfortable societies collapsed because they had traded resilience for convenience. This logic applies directly to modern life. Many people work hard, follow instructions, and avoid trouble. Yet they remain invisible. Their careers stall. They are respected, but not influential. Machiavelli would say they have confused effort with power. Effort makes you useful. Power makes you necessary. Systems do not promote those who merely function well. They elevate those who control scarce resources, shape decisions, or manage outcomes. Comfort seekers avoid the discomfort of standing out, negotiating aggressively, or challenging authority. In doing so, they voluntarily remain replaceable. Machiavelli understood that weakness is often self-imposed. People fear instability more than stagnation. They will tolerate years of quiet failure rather than risk temporary chaos. This is why entire populations remain trapped in mediocre positions. They cling to routines because uncertainty feels threatening, even when the routine is slowly destroying their future. Power, by contrast, requires the ability to endure short-term discomfort for long-term control. Those who rise are not braver by nature. They are simply more tolerant of psychological pressure. Another of Machiavelli's most controversial insights concerns approval. He argued that a ruler who depends on being loved is fragile because love is conditional. It exists only while people feel satisfied. Fear, he claimed, is more reliable than affection because it does not depend on goodwill. Stripped of its political harshness, the psychological lesson is precise. Anyone whose security depends on others' emotional approval becomes structurally weak. Their behavior becomes constrained. They begin to prioritize popularity over effectiveness. In modern society, this dynamic is everywhere. Many professionals know what must be said or done to advance, but they remain silent to avoid friction. They dilute their opinions to stay agreeable. They avoid taking positions that might offend. Over time, they become invisible. Influence shifts to those who can tolerate disapproval. Machiavelli would argue that fear of being disliked is one of the strongest mechanisms of social control. It keeps capable people quiet, while more aggressive personalities fill the vacuum. Social hierarchies do not reward moral sensitivity. They reward strategic positioning. Those who rise are not always the most virtuous or the most liked. They are the ones who can endure temporary social discomfort to secure long-term authority. People who cannot tolerate disapproval remain permanently negotiable. They signal that harmony matters more to them than outcome. This makes them predictable, and therefore easy to manage. Machiavelli also emphasized the central role of perception. He repeatedly warned that political reality is governed by appearances rather than inner truth. People judge what they can see: outcomes, confidence, control. They rarely have access to motives or intentions. This is why competence alone is insufficient. If it is not visible, it does not exist in the social mind. Power belongs to those who manage how they are perceived, not merely those who possess ability. This explains a modern frustration that seems universal. In every organization, capable individuals are overlooked while mediocre but assertive figures advance. The system is not broken. It is operating exactly as Machiavelli described. Institutions reward those who signal authority, not those who quietly possess it. Those who believe merit automatically rises misunderstand how human evaluation works. Influence flows toward visible control. The deeper trap Machiavelli identified is psychological dependence. Most people are trained from childhood to seek validation from institutions, superiors, and peers. They internalize rules designed to preserve stability, not autonomy. Schools reward obedience. Organizations reward predictability. Societies reward conformity. This produces functional citizens, but rarely powerful individuals. Machiavelli understood that systems do not easily elevate independent actors because independent actors are harder to control. As a result, a silent hierarchy forms. Those who can tolerate friction accumulate leverage. Those who cannot remain dependent. Weakness, in Machiavelli's framework, is not a moral failure. It is a strategic position. People are not conquered first by others. They are conquered by the limits they refuse to cross. He also rejected the idea that moral purity alone offers protection. Machiavelli never claimed cruelty was good. He argued that navit is dangerous. A world containing strategic actors cannot be navigated with innocence alone. Refusing to understand power does not make you virtuous. It makes you vulnerable. Those who assume everyone plays by ideal rules become predictable. Predictability is exploitable. This is why Machiavelli believed that successful leaders must understand both virtue and force. They must know when cooperation works and when it does not. Moral frameworks describe how humans should behave. Power dynamics describe how humans actually behave. Confusing the two produces disaster at both the state and personal level. 500 years later, the structure remains unchanged. Comfort still trades away power. Approval still erodes autonomy. Dependence still produces fragility. Career stagnation, social invisibility, and political impotence follow the same ancient logic. People remain weak not because they are oppressed first, but because they prioritize emotional safety over strategic position. Machiavelli's work endures because it describes a permanent feature of human systems. The world is not merit-based. It is leverage-based. Talent matters, but only when it is paired with positioning. Ethics matter, but only when they are combined with power. Those who refuse to see this do not preserve purity. They surrender influence. The true trap Machiavelli exposed is internal. Most people imagine themselves as victims of unfair systems, unaware that they quietly cooperate with their own marginalization. They choose comfort over tension, approval over leverage, dependence over autonomy. These choices feel harmless day by day. Over years, they become destiny. Machiavelli did not write to make people cynical. He wrote to make them lucid. His warning was not that the world is evil, but that it is strategic. Ignoring this does not protect you. It disarms you. Most people stay weak because they keep playing a moral fantasy inside a competitive reality, and the world does not punish them for being wrong. It simply leaves them behind. If this changed the way you see the world, that's because most people are never taught how power really works. I share these ideas so you can see the game clearly and stop playing it blindly. If you want more videos like this that sharpen your thinking, like and subscribe.